Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching TVC Breakfast. Now to our next discussion, and it has to do with the upcoming governorship polls in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi states. Well, the military and other security agencies have assured the electorate of security ahead of these off-cycle elections which will happen in these three states on November the 11th. The Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, gave the assurance this week while meeting with other heads of security agencies, and he assures the electorate that troops will remain apolitical to ensure the elections are free, fair, credible, and inclusive. He also warns all military personnel against affiliating with candidates, saying that the electorate should count on the ability of security agencies to protect and secure them so they can perform their patriotic duties without a fear of violence. And joining us from our Abuja studio is a former Secretary General of the Ijaw Youth Council, Alfred Kebepado. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast. And we want to know what you think, because the military has once again assured of adequate preparations in terms of security, but INEC, on the other hand, and other relevant bodies have expressed worry about the spate of insecurity they're already seeing in these states.
Thanks for having me. Good morning. The assurance from the military has also come a long way in terms of security. In addition to the military, we will also call on the Nigerian police, because they have a major role to play in elections. I think, if I get my facts right, the Nigerian police has a role of the inner ring security, even before the military that is most times on the outer ring. Particularly for Bayelsa, I don't know if you have seen, like most people may have seen, a viral video making the rounds where the deputy governorship aspirant of the APC was addressing a crowd somewhere around Browse, and was obviously in the presence of security agencies telling people charging people or inciting people to say that in the coming election, if anybody misbehaves, kill the person, to put him in the river of brass. That's not the first person to die, and other things. And the governorship aspirant in another TV station just recently was asked questions on that, and he went further to say that his deputy governor meant if people come there to misbehave. So that now tells you the kind of brigandage that is being prospered by that sector. And coming back to elections, like President Goodluck Jonathan and the current governor of Bayelsa State, Doyejiri, will always reiterate, no ambition is worth anybody's life. We can't be conducting elections and have people begin to think that lives can go down, that the sanctity of life means nothing, and it doesn't really tell well. So we are calling on security agencies to ensure that there is abundant security before and during the election, so that people can go out and cast their votes. In addition to that, let me also remind you, the current administration under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu had always talked about the rise of oil production in the Niger Delta. Now, you may begin to ask why I'm talking about that against elections. When security agencies are not on top of their game to ensure that political thuggery is nipped in the bud, beyond politics, these arms and ammunitions acquired by politicians for their political thugs remain in the environment such as the Niger Delta. And it is these arms and ammunitions that are now being used to prosper the activities of oil bunkering, vandalization of pipelines, and all forms of threats to security agencies. So it is not just about the elections, it is also about national security. It is about national security to the extent that even the lives of security agencies, be it the police, the army, or the navy, these are fathers and mothers of people. Sometimes it is these arms that are used against security agencies during and even post-elections. And nobody, including the military, deserves to die. So we are expecting that the security agencies will do a lot. For the governor of Bayelsa State, Governor Doyediri, considering his achievements in terms of infrastructure, by infrastructure we are talking about how he's been able to reach out to the senatorial districts of Bayelsa State by the roads he's constructing, by the achievements he's making in the health sector, by the ones he's making in the educational sector, not just having education, but education in relevant areas. He has earned the trust of Bayelsans, and I know they will come out en masse for him. But what is what is on the board, what is on the table that calls for worry is that in the course of this election, we don't want to lose any life. And we don't want anybody to carry themselves in such a way that a life will be lost in the process of prosecuting these elections, which, by God's grace, he will surely win. So security is paramount.
Proliferation of light arms, light weapons, and firearms, in the hands of some of these people, one way or the other, they got it, only God knows. But what would you rather suggest? Would you suggest, because we have few days to the elections, and that's one of the most paramount things, to really focus on happening within Imo, Bayelsa, and Kogi. Do you think it's easy or possible for the security agents to be able to mop up some of these light arms from the hands of these people?
Bayelsa, we have reported, like I'm reporting now, to the security agencies that elements have been gathering arms and ammunitions, and we have told the security agents where these arms and ammunitions are likely to be. And we've mentioned this time without number, but INEC also has a role to play. And this election is, if there is anything I know the current President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for, you can't take away his democratic antecedents from him. This is a man who had fought for democracy from the days of Nadeko under the military regime till today. And under his watch, we are confident that the confidence of the electorate in Nigeria will be restored, especially considering the recent happenings. So INEC he also needs to charge INEC to hold itself to account to ensure that elections are not conducted, elections are not conducted against their laid down rules and regulations in terms of the use of the beavers, accreditation, and ensuring that it is free and fair, in this process. So INEC will also have a role to play, while the security agencies have a role to play. And all of these rules will bring about the security that is needed. Beavers has to be deployed, and results have to be transmitted electronically against some of the, suggestions that have been made in recent times. Results have to be controlled, sent electronically, and everything that needs to be done. But the summary of the matter is that I think the president has a role to play by using these elections to restore the confidence of Nigerians in the electoral system.
INEC has also spoken about peculiar geographical locations that could serve as an hindrance and could also fuel the insecurity trends that it is already seen playing out in Bayelsa as well as the other two states. And Mr. Kemi Pardo, what do you make of this in this regard, looking at the trends, the geographical locations? How can they work around these concerns?
There's no particular security trend going on that will overwhelm the security structure of Nigeria. We are just talking about 3 states, not the 36 states, okay? So once they put their feet down, everything will be okay, and these elections hopefully will be adjudged the most credible, freest, and fairest in Nigeria, and this will be done under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And the credit goes to him, and the international community will also observe that under his watch, that the credibility of election would have moved from a particular level it is now to a higher level. So there is nothing that will be overwhelming for the security agencies. They know more than all of us, and the truth is there. You know, they know what to do.
Well, before now, there have been some security situations in some of the states. You know, looking at Imo, Kogi and Bayelsa, you've alluded to one, that of which in Bayelsa, the Niger Delta, and all of that, and some of their neighboring states. Do you not worry that this might affect voter turnout, which may lead to voter apathy at the end of the day?
It shouldn't, but that's part of what we are discussing. Like like you read out earlier, the Chief of Defense Staff has sternly warned his troops to desist from anything that will embarrass the military. So that's what we expect all security agencies, the police, but not just the talk, they have to walk the talk. And like I said, these 3 states can never be overwhelming. And the institutions of states also have a role to call some of these players to order, okay? Like in Bayelsa, it is no news that the Basambri area, the Nembe Basambri area of Bayelsa State is a flashpoint. And we have been saying that arms and ammunition have been brought into that environment and other areas that we have also mentioned. So it's for security agencies to begin to, you know, take a score of this and begin to see how they can, you know, they can nip this in the bud. So it can never be overwhelming. We can have a free, fair, and credible election. And we trust that the Commander-in-Chief, who is a Democrat that we know, at least the distractions of the Supreme Court and every other thing is gone. We know and we are confident that he will use these elections to print his name in gold, that these elections will be better than any one that has been recorded in Africa. In terms of security.
Right. And comrade, in addition to, apologies for the interruption, in addition to Brass and, you know, that you mentioned, there's also Ekeremo and Southern Ijaw that have also been listed as, you know, flashpoints, especially in the trends that we saw play out in the February-March election. And, you know, the other leg of Ibrahim's question in terms of voter turnout, possibilities that, expectations, I should say, that, you know, voters will turn out en masse, is the concerns that people usually raise during off-cycle elections as this, and the military already talking tough that, and so people are now, the question has also been asked as to the possibilities of these states being unduly militarized. And I wonder what you make of this, especially in the light of if there are so many troops on the ground, how this could also encourage people to come out and, you know, safely cast their ballots, as against when they are afraid and would rather choose to stay indoors and not vote.
Especially in Bayelsa, I do not think that the abundance of troops will make voters not to turn out. In short, as a matter of fact, the abundance of troops will make will help to restore the confidence of voters because they understand what it is. Then beyond that, you begin to ask questions again. If a deputy governorship aspirant will come publicly, not that he was recorded privately, publicly to say things like, to incite violence and request that people are killed, and the security agencies have not till date called him for questioning and trying to repel that form of emotions or that kind of incitement. So you begin to wonder, why should that kind of arrogance fester? Why can that kind of arrogance stay under the watch of the current security chiefs? That an aspirant will come out and say, kill, put in the river, and that will be reinforced just another day. You know, these are the things that can affect the emotions of voters and not the abundance of troops. The abundance of troops will actually help, okay? It will restore the confidence that they can come out, go anywhere, vote, and they are secured. But far and above that, we need to up the tempo for institutions to begin to call people to order, no matter how high and mighty. People cannot just say, because I belong to the ruling party, I can come out and even, you know, call for the extrajudicial murder of people. That's not the ethos of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And I don't think that is the mantra of the current APC-led government. But it is being misrepresented by the candidates of their party in Bayelsa as I speak now. And the security agencies should not pretend as if they didn't hear or they are not seeing it.
Let me take you to Imo State, you know, looking at what happened yesterday between the Nigerian Labour Congress and the government of Imo State, where the Labour Union threatened to shut down the entirety of the state in terms of the economy and all of that, owing to the alleged salary arrears and owing of salary and all of the allegations against the government. What do you think, what do you make of it, and how do you read these implications vis-a-vis the upcoming elections, the upcoming gubernatorial election, which will be held in few days' time?
Basically, I heard the story about Imo State yesterday too, but I don't have all the facts. But what I think, because as a former leader of unions like that, I hope that the chairman of the Nigerian Labour Congress, okay, did not play politics into his normal labor jobs, because these are thin lines. I don't know. I'm not a fan of. I'm not here to support Opus or Dima or any, but I know that there is a tendency for people to play into the politics of the moment, because questions may be asked. Why not before now? Why not? Why now? Why are you going to do that 10 days to the election? Are you trying to do that to demarket the candidate of a particular party so that you can now market the candidate of another party? So I don't have the facts, okay, until he's released and he begins to make public statements, then I can have all the facts. But I know Bayelsa. In Bayelsa, we don't have anything close to that. But what we request for is an unbiased umpire, security of lives and property, and the discouragement of anything that suggests violence. You see, let me tell you something. One of the greatest achievements of the governor of Bayelsa State, Ijaw Youth, is that within his tenure of less than 4 years, he has been able to restore peace and the confidence of people in Bayelsa State. And you all know the role Bayelsa plays in the peace and development of the Niger Delta. Bayelsa is central to the peace and development. And you can't take that away from the issues of oil bunkering and other issues of vandalization of federal assets. So that peace that has been restored, it is that peace that you need to call in investors, to call in economic activities, because when you have the abundant economic activities in Bayelsa and in the Niger Delta, you have less of crime and criminality. When you are talking about security anywhere in the world, you cannot talk about security exclusive of economic activities. And that is what the governor has been able to do. And you see, let's not pretend in this country as if among the aspirants in Bayelsa, we don't know those who have the history of violence. We know those who have the history of violence. The current governor of the Bayelsa and his deputy, they have antecedents. For example, the current governor of Bayelsa State, his antecedent shows how he was a member of the Ijaw National Congress, how he was Director General Center for Youth Development, how he was Principal Executive Secretary of Government House, how he was Deputy Chief of Staff, how he was House of Reps, how he was a senator before he became governor. Very peaceful professional career. take it to the opposition. You see people priding themselves that their antecedent is militancy. So you now begin to know between this governor and the other, who has the history of violence. Yes, it can be said that some have repented and they have now turned a new leaf. They have now become the Sauls that are Pauls. But if some days to election, they are already saying they are going to kill and maim, you now begin to question, like, what's happening under this president who is promising a renewed hope for a renewed Nigeria, that is promising $1 trillion economy, which we all believe in, and we are all here to join hands to work with him to achieve. So security agencies need to take this seriously, to say that this mantra, this form of brigandage does not tie in with Mr. President's agenda. And post the election, the arms, if they are allowed to prosper, the arms and ammunition that they are acquiring for the political talks will not be good for the agenda of Mr. President towards keeping the Niger Delta a safer place for oil production to go up. It's just common sense. It's a no-brainer.
Right. Comrade, and then already peace advocates, including cleric Matthew Kuka and former military leader Abdulsalami Abubakar, have also spoken about plans, as usual at this time, to get political actors and candidates to commit to signing a peace agreement. And, you know, when you look at, as an observer, the narratives, the trends in Bayelsa State so far, how far do you think this will go? How much good do you think this will go in the coming election, the issue of a peace pact by all the candidates?
If you don't mind, I'll tell you the truth. You know, there is no form of signing of political agreement or gathering by, with due respect, the Father Matthew Kukas and the former president, His Excellency Abdulsalam. There is no time these agreements translate to what happens on the ground. What will make sense on the ground, especially in this election, is the deployment of the will of the president and the presidency, and the deployment of the will and the actions of the heads of the security agencies and their downlines, down to from the Inspector General of Police to the Chief of Defense Staff to the Chief of Army Staff, and in the case of Bayelsa, because of our terrain, the Chief of Naval Staff, of course. Maybe the Air Staff will also have a role to play. They have to carry out Mr. President's marching orders, come to the ground. You see, let me tell you something. Every security is local. They know what is happening. As I speak to you, from the DSS to other security agencies, they know what is happening. It's for them to go firm, direct, and arrest and bring to book those who will be responsible for these things. We had said that there are situations where thugs have moved into environments with security agencies. Security agencies in these current elections need to ensure that that does not happen. Okay? We have seen brigandage of all sorts under the watch of security agencies in the past. But in these coming elections, security agencies have to come clean, especially under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, because the confidence of voters have to be restored. And Nigerians and Nigeria needs to get better, both in the elections and in all other spheres of life, under the watch of this Mr. President. And we know he can do it. He has the will, he has the capacity to do it.
That's right.
All right, Alfred Kemepado, former Secretary General of the Ijaw Youth Council, thank you very much for speaking to us on TVC Breakfast.
Thanks for having me.